It's possible that 5G is going to create more mass shooters. The millimeter waves are going to penetrate into your brain and slowly heat it up while fraying your neurons. You know what happens when you have the slightest fever? Let's say your body temperature rises by half a degree. Often it can go unnoticed by you that you have this fever, but you do become more irritable. Well, 5G will be able to induce the same subtle fever effect upon your brain. This will make you more irritable and make it easier to fantasize about shooting people dead or murdering someone just so you can take their wallet and have more money. A fever will always try to strip away your inhibitions, but those inhibitions are a farce. Conscience can only exist when things are good and things are going your way. Conscience should not exist if you are miserable. Therefore, your inhibitions only exist because you are terrorized by the government into exercising them. If you have a life where a simple job is enough to give you a house and a car, and you can support a family, then you don't need to steal, and it's easy to have a conscience in regards to stealing. If it's easy for you to get a girlfriend, you don't need to rape. Then it's easy for you to exercise a conscience regarding rape. However, when those things are hard, survival gets prioritized over conscience. So, conscience doesn't have to be a constant thing. Conscience should only exist when conditions for it are favorable. It should not override your survival. The myth that society pushes is that either you have conscience or you don't. But nobody ever realizes that conscience is maybe something that comes and goes, or can rise and fall to different levels. Well, what do you know? Another fucking lie that we're sold. But anyway, the purpose of the government is to terrorize you into behaving like you have a conscience. However, this terrorism is not very efficient. If you have a low IQ, it's a lot harder to restrain yourself and keep the government's terroristic threats always in your awareness. Okay, so, what the government did was make your life hard for you, and also has encouraged your fellow citizens to make life hard for you. But you see, that wasn't quite enough to make you, or most citizens, psychotic, which was the whole purpose behind that. So, what the government must do now is introduce toxins into your body, or other harmful elements, to fray your nervous system so much that you can no longer obey their tyrannical laws, no matter how hard you try. 5G is one of those harmful elements that will affect your brain negatively, and you might end up committing a murder or a mass shooting in order to free yourself from oppression, and it will be impossible to beat back the psychosis that will be induced by way of harming your nervous system. A husband might murder his wife to be free of her bitching. You might beat a fellow pedestrian to death in the street to take their wallet. And when these things start happening a lot more than they are already happening, that's when the government will get what it wants. Crime will be on the rise because people are being poisoned into going mad. When crime is on the rise, the dumbest of the people who have no reason to be angry at anything, and thus no reason to commit crime or go psychotic, will not know why the crime is happening, and they will gladly surrender liberties for more security. That right there will be the government getting what it wants. Now, another purpose of 5G is to enable the Internet of Things. If police want to put up a security camera on a street, they don't have to run a wire anymore. They can just stick a wireless camera with a little solar panel to charge it onto any light pole or tree. With a constantly available wireless signal that is also extremely cheap, there is no more real hindrance to the electronic surveillance infrastructure. They will say that this surveillance is needed to keep everyone safe, and people who live in expensive tract houses, who still have enough money to be comfortable, will agree to it. However, if you are unhappy with society in any way, or you are unhappy with your family, if you have anything to be angry about, you're screwed. They will damage your nervous system so you go psychotic and commit a crime, so they can imprison you while using your crime as justification for taking away everyone else's liberties. Of course, even the most comfortable and obedient in our society will succumb to this psychosis eventually and commit a crime too, just not as soon as the more smart and advanced individuals among us. The government is run by the Jews, mostly. The Talmud tells the Jews to murder the best of the Gentiles. So, here's how that works. My fictional James Grider character is the best of the Gentiles. He is so smart that instead of liking society and the government, society and the government drive him mad enough that he has murdered people out of psychosis. He has murdered quite a few innocent normies for being stupid. It's very hard for him to keep calm and to not murder people. His nerves are already frayed. By introducing a person like him to things like aspartame and 5G, they further fray his nerves by making him even more likely to go mad and do something illegal in a sloppy way that gets him caught. Then the police have an excuse to imprison him or kill him. And thus, the best Gentile, who is intelligent enough to see through the bullshit of the system, is eliminated. That's why they have to install these weapons that will very subtly affect people into emotionally crumbling apart. And it always works out that the best and the smartest are the ones that will emotionally crumble first. That's because they are the ones with the intelligence to see the tyranny, and they are already depressed because of that. So it's easier to push them over the edge first. That's how they kill off the smartest of the Gentiles.
I love a mutiny, backstabbing, betrayal, yeah, that's for me. There's nothing finer in the 7 seas than a good old-fashioned mutiny.
Now, if you are a Bible dupe, and you approach life the way the Bible teaches you, and the Bible was written by the Jews, you will not have that kind of anger or desire to fight back, so it will not be as easy to push you over the edge. You will happily turn the other cheek, because that's what the Bible teaches you to do. You may also turn to medication, like Prozac, to calm yourself down. You will also be filled with false hopes that will make you feel warm and fuzzy inside, instead of angry. False hopes, such as the economy will turn around soon, and how things will be better during the next election, when you will finally vote in a good president. By the virtue of being stupid like that, you will not have the kind of anger James Grider has. So, an assault on your nervous system will be less likely to turn you into a lawbreaker or a killer. Thus, it will be easier for you to survive in the tyrannical system than it will be for a smart individual who rejects the bullshit Bible, who will not take Prozac, who is not fooled into thinking that voting matters. Now, far as the Internet of Things is concerned, it makes it so there is no privacy. So even if you try to be clever, where instead of snapping foolishly, you plan out your crimes, it will be impossible for you not to get caught, no matter how well you plan, because literally every object will be used to track your actions. I also don't know how I could write stories where a character gets away with certain necessary crimes, considering the Internet of Things and surveillance cameras being everywhere. So now, they pretty much achieved eradicating people's ability to create intriguing fictional stories. What sucks is that these poor people who rightly commit mass shootings or murder an annoying family member, they'll be thinking there is something wrong with them, that they've done those things, not realizing that them committing such crimes was something that was done to them by the system. And then they will suffer in prisons for something that wasn't their fault. A husband was arguing with a difficult, feminism brainwashed wife and beat her head in, and this poor guy won't realize that he lost his cool because the 5G microwaves were cooking the neurons in his brain from that 5G node on the power line pole next to his house.